I was sweating under the weight of the last heavy box when Russell leaned against the doorframe of our new Chicago apartment, his usual easy grin in place. "So, Seth, you planning on bringing a girlfriend over anytime soon? Gotta know if I need to keep the noise down," he asked casually, as if it was just another roommate chat. My heart slammed against my ribs, the words I'd buried for years clawing their way out before I could stop them. "Actually, Russell, there won't be any girlfriend. I'm gay." The box slipped from his hands, thudding onto the hardwood floor with a dull echo that seemed to fill the entire space. His blue eyes widened, the color draining from his face as he stared at me like I'd just grown a second head. For a moment, the only sound was the distant hum of Chicago traffic outside our third-floor window in the Wicker Park neighborhood. I set my own box down slowly, my hands shaking, waiting for the explosion, the questions, the disgust, the end of our 10-year friendship that had survived college pranks, late-night study sessions, and even that disastrous road trip to New York. Instead, Russell ran a hand through his blonde hair, letting out a shaky laugh that didn't reach his eyes. "Whoa. Okay. That's not what I expected." He paused, glancing around at the half-unpacked living room, the stacks of my graphic design books mixed with his accounting ledgers. "You never said anything, man. All those years." I shrugged, trying to keep my voice steady even though my stomach was twisting. "Didn't seem like the right time. You were always dating girls, talking about settling down the traditional way. Figured it'd complicate things." The truth was simpler and scarier. I'd been terrified of losing the one person who made me feel normal in a world that still whispered judgments behind polite smiles. Russell nodded slowly, picking up the fallen box like it weighed nothing. "Well, it doesn't change anything for me. You're still Seth, my best friend. We'll figure this out." But his smile was tight, and I caught the flicker of something unreadable in his expression before he turned to unpack the kitchen. That night, as we ordered pizza and sat on the floor surrounded by bubble wrap, the conversation stayed light. Work, the Cubs' chances this season, the noisy neighbors downstairs. Yet every time our eyes met, I wondered if the easy camaraderie we'd built since freshman year at the University of Illinois was already cracking. The next few days blurred into a routine of settling in. I worked from home on freelance designs for a tech startup downtown, sketching logos while Russell headed to his firm in the Loop. Mornings, we'd share coffee on the tiny balcony overlooking the tree-lined street, talking about everything except the elephant I'd dropped between us. Russell asked careful questions at first. "So, have you ever, dated anyone?" And I answered honestly but briefly, mentioning a short college fling he'd never known about. He listened without judgment, nodding like the supportive friend he'd always been. But I noticed small changes. He lingered longer in the hallway before saying goodnight, offered to help carry my groceries without being asked, and once, when I joked about a cute barista at the corner cafe, his laugh came a beat too late. I told myself it was just adjustment, that the shock of my revelation was still settling. By the end of the first week, the apartment felt like home. We hung photos on the walls, our college graduation shots side by side, a silly selfie from a hiking trip in Colorado. Russell even suggested we host a small housewarming party, inviting a few mutual friends from back home. "It'll be good for you," he said one evening while we assembled a new bookshelf. "No secrets now, right?" I smiled, but inside, doubt gnawed at me. My family back in suburban Indiana still believed I was the straight son who just hadn't found the right girl yet. Dad's weekly calls always circled back to, "When are you bringing someone home?" And Mom sent articles about successful marriages. Coming out to them felt impossible, like stepping off a cliff without knowing if there was water below. Russell seemed to sense my tension. "You don't have to tell them right away," he offered quietly, handing me a hammer. "One step at a time." His kindness made the weight on my chest lighter, but it also stirred something deeper I couldn't name yet, a warmth that went beyond friendship. As the weekend approached, the party plans solidified. Russell handled the snacks, I picked the playlist. Everything felt normal again, almost like before my confession. But on Friday night, as we rearranged furniture to make space, Russell paused mid-lift of the couch. "Seth, I've been thinking about what you said. I'm glad you told me. Really. It just caught me off guard because I thought I knew everything about you." His voice was soft, sincere, and for the first time since moving day, The air between us felt charged with unspoken questions. I nodded, swallowing hard. Me too. But we're good. We're good, he replied, clapping my shoulder. Yet as he walked to the kitchen, I caught his reflection in the window, brow furrowed, like he was wrestling with his own thoughts. Little did I know that single question on moving day had cracked open doors neither of us was ready to walk through. The party was only hours away, and with it, the first real test of what my truth meant for both of us. The housewarming party started innocently enough, laughter echoing through the apartment as old college buddies arrived with six-packs and awkward hugs. Russell played the perfect host, cracking jokes about our mismatched furniture while I handled the music, keeping the vibe light with indie tracks that reminded us of late-night dorm sessions. Everyone seemed thrilled we'd finally roomed together after years of separate paths, me chasing freelance gigs in Chicago, him climbing the corporate ladder at his accounting firm. But beneath the smiles, I felt the shift. My secret was out to Russell now, and every casual glance from him carried new weight. When our friend Mike asked about my love life, Russell jumped in smoothly. Seth's focusing on work right now. Guy's a design genius. I shot him a grateful look, but his protective tone lingered in my mind long after Mike moved on to the next story. By midnight, the crowd thinned to just a handful of us sprawled on the couch and floor. Russell sat beside me, closer than usual, his knee brushing mine as we passed around a bag of chips. The conversation turned nostalgic, and someone brought up our senior year when Russell had dated that cheerleader who broke his heart. Man, you were wrecked for months, laughed another friend. Russell chuckled, but his eyes flicked to me. Yeah, well, turns out heartbreak comes in all forms. The words hung there, innocent to everyone else, but loaded for us. Later, after the last guest left and we started cleaning up empty bottles, Russell leaned against the counter. Tonight was fun. You okay with everything? I nodded, wiping down the table. Yeah. Thanks for covering for me earlier. He hesitated, then said quietly, I meant what I said, Seth. Nothing changes. But if you ever want to talk more about it, I'm here. No judgment. His sincerity touched me, yet it also stirred confusion. Was this just friendship evolving, or was I reading too much into the way his voice softened around my name? The following Monday brought reality crashing back. My parents called early, Mom's voice bright over speakerphone while I sketched at my desk. Honey, your cousin's wedding is next month. You bringing anyone? It'd be nice to see you with a nice girl. Russell was in the kitchen making breakfast, and I could feel him listening. I mumbled something non-committal about being busy with deadlines, hanging up quickly. When I joined him for eggs and toast, he slid a plate my way. They still don't know? I shook my head. It's complicated. Dad's old school. Church every Sunday. Grandkids by 35. Coming out would shatter that picture. Russell set his fork down, his expression serious. You deserve to live your truth, Seth. But I get the fear. My folks were the same until I stood up to them about my career choice. Took time, but they came around. His words offered comfort, yet they highlighted our differences. Russell had always been the golden boy, confident in his straight path. My confession had cracked that illusion, and now I wondered if he saw me differently. Not as the reliable best friend, but as someone carrying hidden pain. Work deadlines piled up that week, pulling me into long hours at the computer. Russell noticed, leaving notes on the fridge, pizza in the oven, don't forget to eat, and even joined me for a late-night walk along the Chicago River to clear my head. The city lights reflected on the water as we strolled, talking about everything from office politics to favorite movies. You know, he said suddenly, stopping under a bridge, I've been reading up a bit. Articles about what it's like for guys like you. Sounds tough, the constant hiding. I stopped too, surprised by his effort. It is. But having you know now, it helps more than you realize. He smiled, but there was a new intensity in his gaze, like he was seeing me for the first time. Back at the apartment, the tension simmered unspoken. I caught him watching me while I worked, then quickly looking away. Was it curiosity, concern, or something neither of us was ready to name? By Thursday, a misunderstanding crept in. I mentioned grabbing coffee with a guy from my design group chat, purely professional, but Russell's jaw tightened. Cool. Just be careful, okay? His tone carried an edge I hadn't heard before. Later that evening, over Chinese takeout, he apologized. Sorry if that came out wrong. I guess I'm still adjusting. Don't want you getting hurt. I assured him it was fine, but the air felt heavier. That night, lying in my room staring at the ceiling, I replayed the moving day moment. One question, one answer, and now our friendship was transforming into something deeper, more fragile. Russell's support meant the world, yet it also awakened feelings I'd long suppressed. Feelings that scared me because losing him wasn't an option. Little did I know the real tests were just beginning, with family secrets and external pressures waiting to pull us apart. The first crack appeared 2 weeks later when my sister Emily texted about a surprise visit. She was driving through Chicago for a conference and wanted to crash on our couch. Panic hit me instantly. Emily was the family's golden child. Married, 2 kids, the one who still sent me church bulletins just because. Russell saw my face when I showed him the message. Tell her the truth, he suggested gently over morning coffee. Or at least part of it. You can't keep pretending forever. His encouragement gave me courage, but when Emily arrived that Friday, suitcase in hand and hugs all around, the old habit took over. I introduced Russell as my roommate and best friend, steering clear of deeper topics. Dinner was pizza and small talk about her kids' soccer games, but I caught Russell's disappointed glance when I dodged her questions about dating. That night, after Emily went to bed, Russell cornered me in the kitchen. You froze, Seth. She's your sister. She loves you. His voice was low but firm, eyes searching mine. I sighed, leaning against the counter. It's not that simple. She'd tell Mom and Dad in a heartbeat. I'm not ready for the fallout. The lectures, the prayers, the disappointment. He stepped closer, his hand briefly squeezing my shoulder. I get it. But hiding is eating you alive. I see it every day. The touch lingered a second too long, sending an unexpected jolt through me. We stood there in the dim light, the city sounds muffled outside, and for the first time, the space between us felt electric. Russell pulled back first, mumbling about early meetings, but the moment stuck with me like a photograph. The weekend unfolded with forced normalcy. Emily dragged us to Millennium Park, snapping photos of the bean and laughing at Russell's terrible attempts at tourist poses. He played along perfectly, the charming straight guy everyone expected. But when she pulled me aside at lunch, asking quietly if Russell and I were more than roommates, my denial came too quick. No, just friends. Her skeptical look lingered. Back home, after she left Sunday evening with promises to call soon, Russell confronted me again. She suspects something. You saw her face. Frustration bubbled up. What do you want from me, Russell? I told you. I'm not like you. I don't have the luxury of easy acceptance. The words came out sharper than intended, and silence fell. He nodded slowly. Maybe not. But pushing people away won't make it easier. That night, we barely spoke, the easy rhythm of our shared space disrupted for the first time. Monday brought work chaos for both of us. My client demanded revisions on a major campaign, keeping me glued to the screen until midnight. Russell stayed late at the office too, texting updates about a big audit. When he finally got home, exhaustion lined his face. I heated leftover pasta, and we ate in awkward quiet until he broke it. Look, about yesterday. I'm sorry if I pressured you. This is your life, your pace. His apology melted the tension, and we talked late into the night. About his own family pressures to marry and produce grandkids, how he'd always felt the weight of expectations too. Turns out we're not so different, he admitted with a wry smile. Sharing that vulnerability drew us closer again, but it also planted seeds of doubt. Was Russell questioning his own path? Or was I imagining the way his eyes softened when he looked at me now? Midweek, a new layer complicated everything. At a networking event downtown, I ran into an old college acquaintance who knew both of us. Over drinks, he casually mentioned hearing I was gay and asked if Russell knew. The question hit like a punch. Back home, I told Russell, expecting shock. Instead, he laughed softly. Small world. Yeah, I figured word would get out eventually. But his laugh didn't hide the flicker of unease. That evening, as we watched a baseball game on TV, he asked the question that shifted everything again. Does knowing I support you make it easier? Or does it make things weird between us? I hesitated, heart racing. It makes me feel seen. But yeah, sometimes weird, in a good way. He didn't push further, but the conversation lingered like smoke. Our friendship was evolving, friendships tested by unspoken truths, and I sensed a turning point approaching. Family expectations loomed larger with my parents planning a visit next month, and Russell's growing protectiveness hinted at deeper feelings neither of us had voiced. The misunderstanding with Emily had been minor. The real storm was gathering, ready to test how far we'd go for each other. My parents' visit arrived like a freight train I couldn't dodge. Dad booked a hotel nearby, but insisted on dinner at our apartment to see how my boy's living. Russell offered to cook his famous lasagna, sensing my dread. "I've got your back," he promised the night before, his hand resting briefly on mine across the kitchen table. The gesture was innocent, yet it sent warmth spreading through my chest. The next evening, Mom and Dad arrived with hugs and a pie from home. Conversation flowed easily at first, my design work, Russell's promotions, the apartment's charm. But then Dad turned to me. "So, Seth, any special lady in your life yet?" Time's ticking. The room went still. Russell's fork paused midair. I swallowed hard. "No one right now, Dad." Mom chimed in with her usual optimism, but the disappointment in Dad's eyes cut deep. Russell jumped in smoothly, changing the subject to sports, but later, after they left, he found me on the balcony staring at the skyline. That was rough. "You held up, though." Tears threatened as I confessed how their expectations crushed me daily. Russell listened without interruption, then pulled me into a hug, strong, steady, the kind that made the world feel smaller. "You're not alone in this, Seth." Not anymore. In that embrace, something shifted. The air thickened with possibility, and when we pulled apart, his eyes held mine a beat longer than necessary. Neither of us spoke of it, but the seed was planted. The following days blurred with work and quiet evenings where conversations turned personal. Russell shared stories of his own doubts growing up, how he'd once questioned if the normal path was truly his. "Meeting you back in college changed things," he admitted one rainy afternoon. "You made me see life differently, more open." His words hung between us, heavy with meaning. I wanted to ask what he meant exactly, but fear held me back. Then came the misunderstanding that nearly broke us. A coworker of mine, Alex, stopped by unannounced one evening with design files. He was openly gay, flirty by nature, and when Russell walked in on us laughing over coffee, his face hardened. "Didn't know you had company," he muttered, retreating to his room. Later, after Alex left, Russell confronted me. "Is that what you want? Someone like him? Out, confident, no hiding." The jealousy in his tone stunned me. "Russell, it was work. Nothing more." But doubt crept in. Had my confession pushed him toward feelings he wasn't ready for? Or was I misreading friendship as something deeper? The argument escalated, voices rising until Russell slammed his door. Sleep evaded me that night, the apartment feeling colder than ever. Morning brought reconciliation. Russell apologized over breakfast, admitting his reaction stemmed from protectiveness. "I care too much, Seth. Seeing you with someone else had hit different." His honesty cracked the wall between us. We spent the day talking, really talking, about fears, attractions, the blurry line we'd crossed. "I've never felt this way about a guy," he confessed quietly. "But with you it feels right." The admission hung in the air, vulnerable and raw. We didn't rush anything. Instead, we chose slow steps, longer talks, shared silences that spoke volumes. Yet external pressures mounted. My family called more often, hinting at setups with nice girls from church. Russell's own parents invited us for Thanksgiving, unaware of the shift. One evening, a betrayal blindsided us when Emily texted me a screenshot of an old college photo someone had posted online with a caption questioning my sexuality. "Is this true? Call me." The secret was slipping out, forcing us to face the world together. Russell held my hand as I dialed, his presence a lifeline. Whatever happens, we handle it side by side. In that moment, friendship had blossomed into something profound, but the road ahead promised more trials, sacrifices that would test our budding connection and demand we choose each other over everything else. The fallout from Emily's text spread like wildfire through family group chats. Dad called the next morning, voice tight with confusion and anger. "Son, what's this nonsense online? You need to set the record straight." I froze, phone pressed to my ear while Russell sat across the table, his face etched with worry. "Dad, it's not nonsense. I'm gay." The words tumbled out, raw and final. Silence stretched, Then Dad's disappointment crashed down. Lectures about choices, family legacy, what the neighbors would think. Mom cried in the background. Hanging up left me hollow, but Russell was there, pulling me close without hesitation. You did it. That took guts. His embrace grounded me, yet the pain lingered, a reminder of the cost of truth. Work offered no escape. My boss, overhearing a heated phone call with Emily, pulled me aside. Personal stuff affecting your focus? The subtle warning stung. Russell faced similar strain at his firm when a colleague joked about roommate drama, forcing him to defend our friendship publicly. Tensions rose, small sacrifices piling up. I skipped a family reunion to avoid confrontation. Russell turned down a promotion trip that would separate us for weeks. Not worth it if it means leaving you alone right now, he said one night as we cooked dinner together. The domesticity felt natural, comforting, but doubt whispered. Were we rushing into something fragile under pressure? A major turning point came during a weekend trip we took to clear our heads, driving to a quiet cabin in Wisconsin my aunt owned. The lake stretched serene under autumn leaves, far from Chicago's chaos. On the second night, by the fireplace, Russell turned to me. Seth, I've been fighting this since moving day. Your answer stunned me because it mirrored something I'd buried. I think I love you. Not just as a friend. His confession hung in the crackling silence, eyes vulnerable under the firelight. Tears welled as I admitted the same. I felt it too. But with everything, family, work, society, it terrifies me. We talked until dawn, mapping fears and hopes, deciding to move forward together despite the risks. The next morning, a text from Dad arrived. Come home for Thanksgiving. We need to talk face to face. The invitation carried an ultimatum feel, testing our resolve. Back in Chicago, the week blurred into preparation. Russell stood by me through anxious calls, offering quiet strength. But betrayal struck unexpectedly when a distant cousin leaked details to the family church group, sparking rumors that reached my parents before we could explain. Dad's next call was icy. If this is real, don't bother coming. We need time. The rejection hit like a physical blow. Russell held me as I broke down, his own eyes glistening. They'll come around. Or we build our own family. His words sparked determination. We spent evenings planning small steps, couples counseling online, joining a local LGBT support group where stories of acceptance inspired us. Friendships shifted too. Some mutual friends distanced themselves, others rallied closer, proving loyalty's true test. As Thanksgiving neared, I made a sacrifice that changed everything. Turning down a lucrative freelance contract that required travel over the holiday, I chose instead to stay and support Russell through his own family dinner where he planned to come out alongside me virtually. You're worth every missed opportunity, I told him. The gesture deepened our bond, but the emotional toll mounted. Late one night, after another tense family call, Russell whispered, "Whatever happens tomorrow, I choose you." The promise sealed something unbreakable. Yet the climax loomed, facing the truth head-on at a virtual family gathering we'd agreed to join. Misunderstandings had tested us. Secrets had exposed vulnerabilities. But our growing love demanded we confront the final hurdle. Proving acceptance wasn't just words, but action in a world that still pushed back hard. Thanksgiving unfolded in a haze of virtual screens and heavy hearts. We joined the family Zoom from our apartment, Russell's hand steady on my knee beneath the table. My parents appeared first, faces guarded, followed by aunts, uncles, and Emily with her kids waving in the background. Dad cleared his throat. "Seth, we've talked. This lifestyle, it's not what we raised you for." The words stung, but Russell squeezed my hand, giving me strength to respond. "Dad, this isn't a choice. It's who I am. And Russell, he's part of that now. We love each other." Gasps rippled through the call. Mom's eyes filled with tears, but Emily spoke up unexpectedly. "I've seen how happy he is. Give them a chance." The support from my sister cracked the ice. Russell shared his own journey, voice calm yet firm, describing how my honesty had opened his eyes to feelings he'd never explored. Seth didn't just come out. He showed me what real courage looks like. The conversation stretched for hours, accusations mixing with reluctant questions. Dad hung up midway, but Mom stayed, listening as we explained the misunderstandings, the sacrifices, the growth that had brought us here. By the call's end, she whispered, "We love you, son. This will take time, but we'll try." It wasn't full acceptance, but it was a bridge. Disconnecting, Russell and I collapsed onto the couch, exhausted yet lighter. "We faced it," he said, pulling me close. Together, that night, under string lights we'd hung earlier, we shared our first real kiss. Tentative, full of years of unspoken emotion. It wasn't fireworks, but a quiet promise of forever amid the chaos. The following months brought more growth. Family visits turned tentative but warmer, Dad eventually shaking Russell's hand with a gruff, "Take care of him." Work stabilized as we prioritized balance, my designs gaining traction with clients who valued authenticity. Friendships that rifted mended or faded naturally, teaching us the value of loyal bonds. Russell proposed a small commitment ceremony the next spring by the lake where we'd first confessed, simple, with close friends and my now supportive sister. Standing there, rings exchanged under blooming trees, I reflected on the journey. One question on moving day had unraveled everything, leading through pain, betrayal by distant relatives who spread rumors, and sacrifices like missed family events. Yet each step forged us stronger. Society's pressures still whispered, but our love drowned them out. Years later, looking back from our same Chicago apartment now filled with shared memories and a dog named after our old college mascot, the transformation felt profound. We'd built a life defying expectations, proving that identity, love, and acceptance weren't destinations but daily choices. Russell still asked questions, silly ones now, like what to cook for dinner, but each one reminded me how far we'd come. The man who once stood stunned by my answer now stood beside me as my partner, my anchor. Through it all, the truth had set us free, not without cost, but with rewards deeper than we'd imagined. Is it worth risking family approval and societal judgment to live your authentic truth and find real love? True or false?